Hey there. Welcome to Shiloh and Bushan, where you get to meet our family who was daring enough to go run off to Namibia to move into our vacation home and um, try to build a life here. We have two kids. We have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and we are living in uh, near the Windhoek area. Um, and so this is our first video talking straight to the camera. We will do this more often, more frequently. We promise. We've just been getting ourselves started. We've been here for about a month, getting everything together, dealing with the lawyers on visa applications, trying to figure out how do we grocery shop, figure out, where do we get
How to drive on
basic
the left-hand side of the
driving on the
road.
left hand side of the road, getting the stuff that makes us comfortable and
I've
fixing
done
the
it though.
house up. He's a master
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
most of the time.
yeah.
So we've been getting it together, and now as Most High wanted us to. We're here for a lot of different reasons, and most of it because Most High has called us to this place, and part of our duty is to really be out here showing how everybody else can start building a life here. So there are many called right now, and if I know anything, I know that you're experiencing what we did, which is how the heck am I supposed to go to another country? So it is our job to help you with that. So first line of business, I wanted to have. We'll both give a little intro. I'm going to have my lovely husband with the gorgeous hair. I swear to goodness, I tell him every day his curls are better than mine. Look at these coils.
Look, I had, I
Look at those
had, I had
coils.
two choices. I felt from the Most High is either let the beard go fully or let the uh, hair go fully. The beard, I let it go, so it was pretty wild. But I look like I belong on the terrorist list, and I wasn't feeling it. So now we just let the hair go and turn back to the roots of my ancestors, so to speak. But yeah, we are here on the continent, and it's not an easy road, but it is one that, just today, I was so thankful today. It's the opposite seasons here on the continent. So if you're from the States or from the North, you're going into summer, but we're going into fall, and I'm so thankful to be here. I can't think of another place I'd rather be than right here at this time. And so, as we get more comfortable and get less overwhelmed, we recognize um, why the Father's asked us to come to the land. And I'll be honest with you, we just before we came here, we started getting some more direct words from the Father, and He said, when you come into the land, you will understand. And I didn't know what that meant, but today I get it. So it was a little prophetic in that sense. Look, if you're on this channel, it's because you're looking for something. It's not working, whatever you're doing. And I'm not talking about success. We were highly successful. I'm talking about it's not working. Something's wrong. The Most High is calling you towards something, not to just escape, but towards something, and you don't know what. What we're hoping is that our testimony uh, gives you the confidence to seek the Father, gives you the confidence to consider that option that's not on the table. You know how the U.S. is, and you know how Western Babylon is. It gives you two choices. You go this way or this way, and those are your two options. The funny thing is they lead right back to the same place. So the fork in the road or going off the beaten path is the way of the Father. That's why that one is narrow. You may be trailblazing it. You know it. You feel it. We felt it. We knew it. And we finally got the courage to come out, to get out of her, and to be healed. I mean, when you consider this healing,
I mean, it's healing
and
in multiple ways, and the
yeah,
fact that also once we got here, and we'll talk more about this stuff too, is not everybody experiences this. A lot of people go and move, but we had been in the path of we had started receiving words from the Father, and they got more and more regularly, and now we can hear from Him every day. And so one of the things that He has educated me on. He's directed me towards a different diet, shown me what's wrong with our health. And he has many people out here. They may or may not say that they hear words from the Father, but there are many people out here that he has anointed to give us health advice and help us get off this, I'll call it Egyptian, Babylonian diet, all these things that are hurting us. We are dying out here and we're not healthy. And so, one of the main things that has been so healing about this is that I now understand what healing is and how to start the process of healing. And I didn't really know because I was still in it. And still, there's stuff that is here that we don't have there. Things that taste better here, like vegetables and things that taste better here than that don't taste good in the United States. And then there are things in the United States that are banned over here. People talk about it all the time, but I realize there are some things like ketchup don't taste the same here. It tastes like tomato sauce. It says tomato sauce because it's tomato sauce, not corn syrup. So I have to get used to all these different things of like, okay, that's I may not like ketchup if it's not sugar.
Right. Before we go any further,
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking, person who's watching us, just like I would be. Go back. You're getting words from the Most High, and you're probably thinking like these folks are crazy. Let me tell you something, guys. Like I can't explain it. Um, I would have never believed it till it happened. To this day, I have to read them pretty regularly
To
to
remember what it
understand them,
says.
to remember it, to understand it.
Understand.
Um, my mother now is starting to get word, so I think it's the time. I think we are in a special time if we can open ourselves up. The way that the Father put it on us is that He's always talking. So if you're not hearing Him, it's because you're not in the right position, the right spirit. That's a big one. I just want to like call that out. I want to
Yeah,
act like
that's
that's
true.
normal.
Right. I
It's
mean, the
normal
book
for us now,
says,
but it's
he
not.
says, I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. So in that time, he's pouring out his spirit on all flesh. It's been poured out on us.
Yeah, there's probably many other
And
folks too.
right, and many others. And with when I used to hear people say they hear from God, and the Lord said, they were always saying, and the Lord said, you're gonna be wealthy tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was all fake, and most of it still today is false. But he does speak to his children, and he speaks to his children not to tell you you're gonna be rich. He might say that, but he's giving you your assignments, teaching you about his word, helping to guide. Like he will guide me
It's
through
all about obedience.
stuff where
He's getting you in
exactly
position for His kingdom,
right,
not your pursuits,
so that we can serve the
not your
Messiah.
New Year 2024 goals.
Right.
God doesn't care about any of that, and I can pretty much quote it, but those things have no value anyway. I mean, we believe it does, or we believed it did, but it doesn't. We're not YouTube people. We were business executives who were about our grind, making money, and doing what we thought was real good work. It really, I mean, we thought it was, but at the end of the day, we were just uplifting the system. Um, so we would normally be speaking, but here we are. We're speaking because Most High says it is time. He told us we cannot hide. So um, there's not a world where we do this regularly unless it is obedience to the Father. And so we share to let you know, hey, this is vulnerable to us. So, be gentle. But also because I think our journey will free a lot of people. Well, we know we follow quite a few people. When we came to Namibia back in October of 2024, because the Most High had told us, keep in mind, we didn't know Namibia existed. You probably don't know Namibia existed. Before that, to give you an idea of how it works, no, that is not tribal drums. If you hear that, that's literally my
Our
son
kids out
on a
here
slide
playing.
with two shovels doing this. Just so you have the right perspective of Africa kids. But we came and we immediately met up with a family who had just done the same move. And I don't know if you all
For the
seen,
same reason.
yeah. And we're looking at each other
Yeah.
like, you, what do you hear? What do you know? For the same reasons. And I think it's happening uh, all over the continent. Um, we believe some very special things about this region we're in has not been confirmed. So on our journey, we'll find out if we're correct or not. But this is what the Shalom Bashan channel really is. It's just us giving our journey so that you can follow yours. Probably three things happen for it. It confirms something. It gives you some insight into something that you hadn't known. For many, it'll be permission, though. It's just amazing when you see somebody do something that seems impossible to you. Um, it starts to open up possibilities for you. I know that was the case um, for me. So as you follow us on the journey, you'll see a few things. I'm teaching my son the way that has been given to me from the Father. My daughter too, but she's like really young.
She's 2.
She's 2, so it's mostly to him. He's
Yes.
older. So you'll see some of the lessons as we walk through it. We use his world that he created to understand him because that is his artwork, that is his creation, this earth. Uh, and so we use that to understand him and we leverage scriptures. The other one is us kind of just, telling you a little bit about our journey getting through here and what we see. And then those words we've been getting, um, and they're regular now. We have begun kind of posting the ones that are appropriate. Some of them are just for us, like about what we need to do, and those may or may not have the blessing for you, just for us. So those we kind of keep tucked away. But there's other ones that are for all of the children and all of the ones who are hearkening to His voice at this time. And those, I thought I was going to sit on a notebook, but I've been given word that those need to start being spoken. So we'll read those, and those are to to be shared, to be pondered. I'm still reading them. I find myself just like reading scripture, going back through the words given to me, and as I mature in this walk, as I mature in the Father, I'm finding out I'm getting more out of this than than when I originally wrote it and didn't quite understand it until I read it, and then started to get it. So I think that's surmises it. I don't know how you're supposed to do this. I would have preferred this to be like 3 minutes, like it's
3
supposed to be.
minutes.
Like how like on the videos that I actually watch are.
Nobody does 3 minutes on these things.
Yeah. Well.
We watch people.
Oh no. When you're on this walk, everybody's video is an
Right.
hour and a half.
Right, 90 minutes to 2 hours. If you watch it in Celestial, it's 2.5 hours per
Yeah.
video.
Yeah. That's
I
true.
have to speed through,
It's true. It's
speed
true.
her stuff up.
So this is just for all the people who are open, who feel the
Yes.
shift, who know the Father's calling, who needs either confirmation or just interested in being a part of the walk. Um, we believe that the Father is about to do marvelous things right now. We're in position. We've walked away from Babylon, and I don't miss it. And we were winning in Babylon, and I don't miss it. Because even though we were winning by Babylon standards, we don't weigh everything the same. We know the price of something, but maybe not the value. Think of what I was giving up. Think about what my kids had. Here they have a simpler life. They have a more spiritual life. We are so busy doing the work of man, or more doing the work that the Ruach or the Spirit calls for us. Even following the constellations, the Bible says uh, that the greater and the lesser light and all the stars in the heaven are for signs and times and appointed times. You choose your Bible. Sometimes it says different things. Sometimes it says appointed feasts. Sometimes it says for the times and seasons and the days. Where I live, could even see, first of all, didn't
Couldn't
see
see a
but
star.
2 stars. Here, Turns out the Milky Way is everywhere. You just gotta be able to see it. So go figure. Two, I can find the moon in the phases. So when I read books of Enoch or when I follow other scriptures and Psalms and Proverbs, as I look to understand why and what this big clock in the sky is telling us, I could actually see it. I would lose the moon because there was houses all around and I couldn't see it. Um, or buildings, and now I can follow it. So
I was gonna see if I could turn the camera around, but I can't. I
yeah.
can once I start.
So we'll show you a little bit of how this
The
looks, but
environment.
the environment.
Oh,
But
gone. Okay.
yeah. So if you're on a journey to seek the Father, if you're on a journey to seek Him for real, like to not only just in the scriptures, but then take those scriptures into real life and
Okay.
and manifest the scriptures in how you live. If you have a desire to get out of Babylon, which most of you should, because that time is now. You need confidence like we needed it. Look, we're going to show you what we're going through. We're not even fully out of the weeds. There are some hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you something. Once you do it, it's hard to imagine you ever thinking about going back because you realize that Babylon, uh, yeah, you can get a bunch of stuff and go and have a steak dinner whenever you want it. But we know that that man does not live off bread alone, but by every word of his Father who strengthens him. And so, therefore, you learn a new food, and oh my goodness, it tastes so much better. Um, so we don't, we may want it, we don't crave it. You will not either if you haven't already. Uh, and if you just feel shalom, peace. It took us a while. We brought that Babylon energy right here with us. Now it's starting to calm down a little bit, mostly thanks to the Father smacking the hand and saying, look, I didn't ask you to come here and be there. I asked you to come here and sit at my feet. You might be like, well, why is his feet in Africa? We'll all find out. But I do agree. I've sat at his feet here, and it is his feet. So I don't know. How do you conclude these things without?
So I don't
Yeah.
want to conclude this one. So we're at 17 minutes, and we'll just finish off by actually telling our story of who were you, and then I'll tell my story of who was I,
Yes.
so that people can use this video, try to stick around 30 minutes or so. They can use this video to be like, okay, they find something else in the future, go, how can I trust these people? They can go back and see the first video. Who the heck are these people and why are they in Namibia?
I agree. That will happen, right?
Yeah. So
Well,
you want to go first?
no, you go first. I've talked
Okay.
enough.
All right. So just to give a little explanation of who I am, in American terms, I'm a publicist, and I've been in marketing for most of my life. I went to college, got my psychology degree in Michigan. I got my MBA from Western Governors University. I had worked in corporate America, so I've worked in nonprofit organizations. I worked in finance for several years at Fortune 500 financial company. I worked for retail, national distribution, retail companies. As a publicist, I had tons of clients, small companies, publicly traded, all that kind of stuff. So I've done all of that. I owned a women's organization that I ran for many years in Denver, Colorado, and that women's organization was well established. It did really well for itself. I was able to live. 60% of my income came from that women's organization, and then I worked part-time in PR with just a couple of clients, usually as I was raising my son. That was the lifestyle that I had. The women's organization.
Come back, Bray.
Excuse
Sorry,
us, that will happen.
Come back.
The women's organization put me in a situation where I got to be on TV and things like that quite a bit. So I did social media heavily. I was posted videos and content all the time to build that It was still back in the day where you didn't have to make content so often. So I recorded once a week and posted things. Nowadays, people have to go live like 10 times a day to be successful. But I did all of that. I was on local television. I've been on national television. I have been featured in the news, Forbes, Vox, Wall Street Journal, all these different places. I am one of the most extremely credible people you will ever meet as far as degrees and things that you can look up and find me. One day I'll do one where I just kind of show you some of this stuff, but it, just take my word for it. I was pretty cool. And in the end, 2020 happened. I wasn't able to do my women's organization, and I was really hurt because it was kind of my identity, this work stuff. And I had to go through a process like many of us did in 2020. We had to go through a process of rebuilding our identities.
That's a great blessing right there. I think it was a great
Exactly.
blessing because I think what that did was it stopped the wheel long enough for you to hear
Right.
and maybe weigh what you're doing. Does it matter?
Right.
Because I was, like for me, I was like never gonna see my kid. Like my kid was like 8 months, and he was born in the life we lived, and so I thought it was fine, just to maybe 3 or 4 nights not see him. And then later on, you realize, wait a minute, now that you work, that we had the ability to work from remotely. Uh, well, that was insane, but only after I had a chance not to do it did I know that that didn't make sense. Before it was just normal. It was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Yeah. So 2020 was a blessing. It didn't feel like it at the time though, but it was my first moment to reevaluate. And then ever since then, it's just been a process of getting closer and closer to the answer. I started getting where I was just really upset at the world and felt like all of this is broken. And I was absorbed into the brokenness of the world and evaluating that. And then it was only, what was last year? Last year, 2020, it was 2022 then.
Last year was 2023.
20, I know, but it was 2022 that we really discovered this whole
At the
thing.
end of it.
2020,
At
right?
the end of it.
The end of 2022. Then we had this, oh my goodness, we've been lied to about who we were the whole time and all this stuff. And then it was like, so the world is broken, and y'all been pretending that we ain't nothing. And all this time, our people were pretty special to the Most High and not the dirt of the earth. And so I had to process that and figure out what that meant to me. And then I gave up a ton of things. I was actually representing as a publicist some pretty demonic characters. And I gave myself over to Yah. And I said, I clearly cannot, I can't do these things now that I know who I'm supposed to really be. And now that I know that your word is legit and there is consequences for this stuff, and I don't want no consequences. And I want to be on your good side. And then he sent me the kinds of clients that I needed to have. There is a client of mine at that time, the one that he first told me to work with. And he wasn't speaking to me in words at the time. He spoke to me in in kind of like inspiration. So I prayed this deep prayer of, I don't know what to do to make money when all these people are clearly the devil. I can't work with them. What am I supposed to do? And then in the middle of the night, I woke up and I wrote a proposal to expand my work and get a couple more $1,000 from this one client that was of God. And he said now that he had no clue why he hired me, and he felt he was following a calling in the first place. So now I have that confirmation that we were put together for that reason, and I was given that inspiration to go work with him. Um, then, because of that obedience, and I did cut off clients that were wrong, I took on only those that were in positive connection with the Father. And then I started being led. Every time I had a quiet moment, I would start being led to things For example, one day I was quiet. I was out working for this client that I had been matched with, and I was sitting there, and then I all of a sudden felt in the inspiration. I said, I got to get up. It was a moment that I shouldn't have got up. I said, I got to get up. And I went to my car and I had to look up Namibia. And I had no clue why. I just started desperately searching for Namibia. And then I found this prophecy. I found first these videos, one that said something weird about Namibia having this weird like mountain of sand that shouldn't be there because it doesn't make sense because the wind and the rain are doing something funny. And I said, okay, that's weird.
Right, it's the only place in the world where the ocean meets the desert.
Right, it's weird. So then I said, okay, well that's a weird place. And then I found this prophecy from this old woman who swallowed the Bible and she could just regurgitate scripture. And she had a scripture, it had a prophecy that said, "This will not miss its mark." And I'm like, I guess it did find its mark because there's no reason I'm finding this right now, except that I was told to get up right this minute and go find this message that you somehow got in a news publication. It was like a Christian news, and it was out there. And I just continued following the clues, and it wasn't until the end of 2023 that I really started being able to, I would put on I had this white prayer cloth that I would put over my head, and I would bend down in deep prayer. I'm a part of a I don't know, congregation or something, a virtual, chat group where we all do prayers and things of that nature. So we did several fasts, and we did like a sackcloth prayer. We did a lot of different things like this. And so I remember, being in I don't know if I think I was in my sackcloth or something. I got down and I just felt the power over me. And I felt like Messiah was there and I was at his feet. And so this is just an overview of the whole thing, but it was just this process of getting closer and closer to this spirituality that I had never had, because I was a Christian, but I had kind of walked away from church because I kept finding churches. Every time you go, it's like it's just always some drama, always some things happen. The last church we were going to was a TD Jakes church, and the pastor was sleeping around. He was in the church news as a cheater, and then they replaced him. And I'm just like, it's always a mess somewhere.
Keep in mind, during this time that she's talking, we do start keeping holy days and Shabbats.
Yes.
And we start,
yes.
We keep the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Such a learning experience, the deepest learning experience.
New moons. We begin to blow shofars, and we begin to read the scripture profusely. We were,
following the Bible. We decided that if we are the people of the book, then we need to walk in the footsteps of our ancestors. What were they doing? Who were these people? How can we be like them or understand what they were doing? And so we did all these things, and all of that set apartness and making choices in opposition to what the world wants us to do. Fasting, learning to give up food for a day or give up something for a day. They call it a Daniel fast, learning to give things up for the Most High, not for yourself, not for a diet. People will fast for a month for a diet.
I've seen many fellas and ladies go on the fast to get their body right for the summer. I've seen it.
Sacrifice anything for beauty, but when you say fast for one day, like don't eat from morning to evening. No, I gotta eat 6 times a day. It's like,
what's interesting? My daughter is going in the house. My 2-year-old. I don't know why she's in the house.
She's probably washing her hands.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We don't see her in another minute. I'll go look for her.
Right.
I'll finish my side and then you can do yours. But basically that's the story. And then we got to this, I got to the height of my spirituality. It was time to go. Yah gave us a timeline and said, you got to be out of here by this time. He gave us a deadline. And I had started to actually, it doesn't sound like a voice, but it was like I knew, pick up a notebook, and I knew, grab my notebook, that I had gotten to record dreams because I had started having these strange dreams that I couldn't understand. And then I would just write down what was coming to my head. I do have meditation skills, as when I was kind of in the world and I would do yoga and I had meditation training and stuff like that. So I don't believe in meditation in the way that they teach it, but I do believe that that skill of being able to cut off my thoughts helped me, because if you cut your thoughts off, you can hear from the Most High. We're getting real deep in this, but I'm like, but I got to give the explanation. So basically, he started giving me the call to pull out my notebook. I would write, and I had bullet points. Get out, be out by this time, and you need to be there, at this time. And he gave me little tidbits of what my purpose might be, and then I shared those with my husband. And then it got to a point where it was starting to get real dramatic because we were getting closer to this timeline. He's still working all the time. I'm working all the time. We have a very high demand for the amount of money that we need to earn. So we're like, going after it. And but the time is going. And so he started getting, started getting more faster and in more demand with the things that he was in, trying to get these messages to us. So we go. So we do not take our time and think we have more time, because
Yeah,
we
the
have a
sense of
limited
an
time.
urgency was
Yes.
intense. Did I ever turn this on?
Yes, on, I got it.
Okay.
The urgency got, I'm almost done.
Okay.
The urgency got really severe. And for whatever reason, as my husband had received a gift card to a float tank place, he decided to give it to me. And so I said, you know what, if I'm getting this, I need to go use it, because there might be a reason, because I had started to believe everything was a sign, because everything in the end is started to become a sign. And so I go to the float tank and I basically invite the Father to join me in the float tank. I said, send me the thoughts you want me to have. Whatever you send to me in this float tank, I will know that it is from you. I will shut off my mind and hear only your voice. And you direct me in what you need me to know about this journey we're about to go on. And so he started flashing all these images in my head, and I saw my life here. I saw what we were supposed to be doing. I saw that my husband was supposed to fast for 3 days, and um, I should not do anything until he has done it. So there's no more decision making until he has done 3 days. And he gave me a specific what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to, I can't remember what it was,
Go
but it
check
was
on your
something
sister.
like
Go check your
like
sister. Go check on her.
it was something like fast for the first day, no food at all. The second and third days, he could eat vegetables with some oil if he wanted to, something like that. And he had to stay away from us and go to a hotel, and he couldn't answer his phone. He would tell the story of what happened when he went and did that. But that float tank experience gave me the next step in our journey. And once he did that act of obedience, it started the open the floodgates. And I'm going to stop there to take care of these kids, and you tell your side of the story of like what were you in your career, and how did we get here from your perspective?
It feels silly now. I used to take a lot of pride in this. I used to say, I did this or I did that. Now
Ray
it's
Bray,
like
what
none
you
of that
doing?
really mattered. I know that now. But so I was a corporate executive. I worked my way up in human resources to chief human resource officer. We renamed it chief people officer for $1 billion revenue company in the States. And I had I ran a budget 6 mil plus, and had been pretty successful for 2017, probably until I left in February 2024. I had done trainings and development that were recognized by uh, publications as some of the top in nationally and abroad. I had traveled to Japan and Taiwan and Taipei to do global trainings. I was in a magazine, on the cover of a magazine, um, as top 10 promising HR professional executives to watch for. I had received a recognition for in 2023 for, or maybe it was 2022, the end of 2022, for my contribution to the finance industry. And so pretty stellar reputation, lots of publications, known for transforming workplaces and setting them apart. Been a part of mergers, acquisitions. I've hired people who made $400,000 a year, and put together their compensation plans. I've managed over $56 million, actually maybe closer to 64 by the end, $1 million of assets under management for 401ks and also for deferred compensation plans. So yeah, it was like my ego was in it a little bit. But look, around 2020, I finally had reached the goals that I wanted to reach, and I did it early. But I didn't understand what was happening to my people. It seemed like the higher I was going, my people were stagnated, and it wasn't just in the United States. It seemed like worldwide, no matter where we were, that's where that's what was happening, and it was eating me alive. Here I am eating a steak, well, it's so good, and watching people starve that I know are worthy. Like, I mean, I could. We all use, when you are a high achiever, and you come from the communities that I come from, you do find a way to get over that survivor's guilt. Most of it is you start to demonize the victims, and you look at your brother and you say, look, if you had just done this, if you just done that, if you had just gotten the bachelor's and the master's and the certifications, and networked and got your clothes, dressed professionally, you would have it all together like me. But funny thing is, when you're in corporate America, you realize not everybody who's there making great money is the top people. Many of them are mediocre, yet they get it. How's that possible? I know mediocre people, but some of my mediocre people do prison time. It seems like some of these mediocre people, um, sometimes, are sitting in the boardroom with me. Fascinating, unjust. These people home is worth $500,000. Their parents' home, yet these people home is worth $89,000. And the only thing I can think of, the only reason it's devalued is who's in it. Because, as we know, stone, brick, area, you know, doesn't make that big of a difference ultimately. You really think about it. So I'm in corporate America, and I'm making rich white men very wealthy and helping them with their cause. But meanwhile, my people, I don't touch. I don't help them. I don't do anything for them. I try, we do the little stuff that's corporate, but it never makes a difference. And I'm struggling with that, but I have to be very professional. I'm the youngest and blackest person in my seat. And I have to represent, I've got to be really good because, uh, you know, find out who do you think doesn't belong here, and it's probably me. I know I'm sitting in the seat that someone like me, as young as I was, or who looked like me, or came from where I came from, did not sit in before. And when I'm gone, someone that looks like me will not be in those seats. So I'm visiting. Like, I take up the space, but I'm visiting. And so I really started to struggle. Really started to figure out like what had happened, and it led to destruction. I gained weight. I was unhealthy. I found myself drinking quite a bit to cope, and ultimately, what ended up happening is I started to figure out what happened to my people. How did we get in the positions that we? I'm not talking about individuals. I'm not talking about these people who got money. I get them. They're individuals. Anybody who's really successful, when you look around, it's not that many of you. But yet, I think Chris Rock put it best in one of his old specials. Greatest comedian, Jay-Z, the greatest rapper. I don't subscribe to these folks; they're very worldly, but I'm just saying, greatest rapper, Mary J. Blige, maybe the queen of R&B, and yet who do they live next to? A dentist. Not the best dentist, not the greatest dentist, not the dentist that had created new forms of dentist, just a dentist. And as you get more up in wealth, you recognize like there's tons of those neighborhoods. They're all full of people. So why is there no opportunity for your people? Why do your people struggle for just the smallest, most basic things? And that happens everywhere. That's here on the continent. That's any, and this is the biblical term. Wherever we're scattered in the four corners of the world, this is the case. This led me to finding the Most High, and understanding that what happened to us. Eventually, Kyrie Irving thing happened. I watched basketball at the time, and I thought the way he was getting treated was highly unjust. I couldn't understand it. They kept talking about a book. I read the book. It's a guy born and raised where I was born and raised, Ronald Colton. So I was really interested in him. Read the book, and this is before I even cracked open the Bible. And then eventually, after reading the book, I cracked open the Bible and I read Deuteronomy 28. And because I had become so versed in all the things that had happened to us historically, not just in the United States, but what happened to us on the islands, what had happened to us on the continent, what happened to us in Europe, what happened to us in South America. When I read the curses of Deuteronomy, I said, my goodness, there has not been another people that have gone through this, and I can pinpoint in pictures and in documents when these things happened. And that's when I knew that Yahuwah was real. That always felt supernatural. Turns out it is supernatural what's happened to us, and there's a way out of this. And the way out of it, actually, even if I think of it secularly, to set apart from these systems that have oppressed us. And I get it. I know everyone feels like, yeah, okay, it's individual responsibility, but that's tired. I can tell you right now, I was very successful. And if it had just been based on my wit alone, I would have never gotten there. I got lucky in some areas. I was prepared in some others, and I think the Most High led me through it to see it. But yeah, I mean, you could try to do me 10 times over, and you couldn't do it. I could try again, and maybe I don't get it. Some things went really well. And so I think that is something that when you're really successful and you're not someone that's tooting your own horn, or you're not so rich in your pride of, oh, me, look at what I've done, you realize very quickly, like, you know what? This system, there's a lot of luck in it for some and a lot of structure for others. And somehow it tends to go down color lines or down spiritual lines. Long story short, Crystal did this. I did not. Long story short, we are here because, yes, Namibia came up and we were reading the Bible, and we realized that Namibia, in many cases, also had a lot of the prophecies in the book, and we were called. She told you about the float tank. So the float tank is a big moment because while I am keeping holy days, I'm missing days from work to do it. I am worshiping. I am literally changing before my eyes. I still have not connected with the Father in the next level. And when I'm told to fast for 3 days, keep in mind, I fast, I put on sackcloth, I've actually put on sackcloth and asked for forgiveness.
Itchy.
It's very itchy. I didn't put ash, but I did. I asked for forgiveness. I have fasted on days that used to be sacred, like Christmas and
Thanksgiving. I fasted on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you fasted on Thanksgiving.
New Year's.
On New Year's. These supposed to be like days that we would go out and do all this. But now, under the Father, we don't do that. So we fast. We deny our flesh. We afflict our souls in order to hear the Father. And okay, and she says you gotta go fast for 3 days. It wasn't really 3 days, 3 nights, 2 days. So we had already stopped eating after 7 p.m. So we were doing kind of like a fast um, between dinner and breakfast. So true fast. That was 12 to 14 hours of resetting our health. But I was supposed to start that, go to a hotel, fast that evening, that next day, not use a phone. I'm not supposed to use my cell phone. I'm supposed to be away from my family, which usually I'm always with my family. As much as sometimes I want to be away from the kids just to have peace of mind, I'm never, and I don't want to be. But I'm supposed to leave the family, go to a hotel, fast that evening. The next day, fast all day the next day. No media. Don't use my phone. If I need to call the family, I'm supposed to use, uh, the room phone, the old landline. And the third day or the second day, I can actually have vegetables. I can have a salad, but with no dressing, just olive oil. And I can't leave the room and go buy it. So I have to go pre-buy it and have it in the room. So I had to have a room with a refrigerator, all of this. So of course I'm not looking forward to this, but I am hopeful. I mean, if she got that word, it maybe it's something. I'm looking for the Father to give me that next thing because we're getting ready to go to Africa and I just need more. But I don't want to do this. Immediately the next day, I pick up my cell phone. Why? Because I'm not hearkening. I don't believe in everything that was said to me. I pick up my cell phone, I call my wife. I'm like, hey, how the kids doing all this? My phone turns off. Does not work. I have to call them back on the room phone. It stops working. I thought it died and it scared me. That is when I began to really take it serious. And so I used, I was reading Bible, I was writing notes, I was doing research on the Holy Land. And the final day before I left, I received a word from the Father. And this word changed my life. It was, give you the date, it was February. I'll tell you, it was February 12th of 2024. And I began, I was praying, I was in deep prayer. And then all of a sudden something said, grab a notepad and a pen and begin writing. And so I did. And this is a real surreal moment because these aren't my words, though they're coming from me. I've gone through all of the different types of doubts that would happen when anyone experiences this. But I'm now many, many writings in, and I will tell you, this is real. This came from the Father Yahuwah. I have called you out of your slumber to seek me, to seek my face. Come to me, my son, for you are forgiven. Come up out of her and be prepared of me. This land is cursed. Talking about the land I was on, Babylon or USA. And it shall end. Behold, I make a way for my first fruits. Now, as you can imagine, I'm writing this first fruits. I've never ever considered myself a first fruit. It sounds pretentious. I just give you what was given to me. He clarifies for those who hearken to my voice. You are scared talking to me because you know not what's in store, for you have seen nothing. So putting me in my place a little bit. He said, I heard your shofar in the land that day, and I heard you. This goes back to when we first visited Namibia, and we met some other folks who were on the same walk, and we did praise in this land, and we did blow shofars. He heard it, and I would have never thought that. I didn't have my shofar. My brother here did, and I blew the shofar because it was my first time blowing it outside. We lived in a neighborhood where blow it inside, in the basement. I never blew it outside in the land with all this beauty of Yah. He said, prepare, I make a way. Let go of your concerns and your confusion, for I make a way in the wilderness. Am I not Yahuwah Almighty, Yah mighty and strong? Do you understand my majesty? These are gut wrenching questions. He says, why then, why the hesitation and doubt? He says, son, there is none other than me, your God. None. For I am the beginning and I am in the end and I have seen it all. Come be protected. Goes on to say, for I am getting ready to do a marvelous thing, one the world has never seen. Come to me and I will answer your questions and you will understand and you will be made whole. For it is my will to have you there. You will know when you arrive. I talked about that in an earlier part. You said you wanted to sit at my feet, you, your woman, and your children. All other things will work themselves out. For you are my inheritance. You, your seed, your woman, your mother, and your sister. For I have called you by name. I have beseeched you, for I have seen you in the land. I have seen you in the vineyards and in the land, and it has pleased me. And you will know I am Yahuwah your God, when you have obeyed and turned away from your captivity, and sought me in the things of old. You will remember, and I will be your reward. He says, for who is like unto me? Who creates the heaven and the earth and all living things? It's a legitimate question he's asking here. Who calls and they come? Who changes a thing and the thing is changed? And then he answers, only me. Know you not me? For I make a way and am prepared of you. My grace is a gift unto you. Will you heed? Will you see what I have for you? And then he goes into my identity in Babylon. He says, for I care nothing about your past. I am not impressed with your affinity for your captivity. For you have an invitation from your mighty Yah to be the first fruit, to be a first fruit. Not because of your doing, but because of my will. You did good, he says, by afflicting your soul and making yourself available to me for your sake. So the fasting, he says, really was valuable. Come follow me and be made anew in my image and according to my righteousness. Behold, I will make you a new thing, one you have yet to see or have ever known. For I have loved thee. Obey and follow my commands, and you shall be blessed, for I have called thee. So I get this word, and I'm crying while I write it because I've never experienced anything like this. I mean, I'm talking about the type of tears that, like, I'm in a hotel room, so I'm not certain if people outside, I'm pretty certain people outside, is that kind of man cry, you know, the one probably heard your dad do before, if you've heard your dad cry, or if you heard a man cry that like that. I'm crying like that. I'm afraid someone's going to hear me outside the hotel, but it doesn't matter. I can't stop it because I know what this is. And I walk out of there, and now I'm ready and know that I must leave and come into the land, and that I must forsake all of the things that I held dear, part of that career, part of all that, and I must walk away. Even to this day, I get calls. Everyone expects that I'm going to take another corporate job. I guaranteed to be a multi millionaire under that path. But I walked away because my father has hearkened to me. And so this is why we are here in the land, and I have not missed one day. that life, and I am happy to see what the Father has for us, and happy to be serving in His righteousness. Crystal, I think that's the first time I've ever like fully explained all of that.
Yes. Yes. So it's a
I
lot.
I feel weird about it, but okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
it is what it is.
well, I would like to assume that this video will only hit its targets. And
Yep.
if you got to the point where you heard all of that, you were supposed to hear it. So thank you all for listening to this video. I'm not doing this for no other purpose except Yah told me I had to. Because I don't, after I was done making content and stuff for that women's organization, I realized, I had kids. I don't want to be no internet. I don't care about the internet. I don't care about people watching content and stuff. It completely is the opposite of what I feel like doing at this point. And right now, with what we're doing and what we're in the middle of, I would rather hide away. But as people are in this moment of not hearkening because they're scared, it's important. And again, I'm doing this out of obedience, not because of my own mind. When you're hearing me say it's important for this, I didn't decide it's important. I've been told it's important. I have to do this. We have to do this outside of our own will and desires, because people who are nervous to follow the call, that you listening to this, you probably have a call. You don't know if it's real. You don't know if you just saw something on the internet and it made you where you can't get Namibia out of your head, or
Or
you saw
wherever you're being called.
right, wherever you're being called. I'm assuming that the people sent to watch this video, you still got stuff in your cup, are called to Namibia. But right, there could be a lot of different places that you're being called to. So just give me a minute. The point being, if you're being called to move and you are struggling because you don't know if it's real, because I struggled so much to figure out, am I making this up? Did I just get influenced by something I saw on YouTube? Not right now. Did I just, am I confused? Am I, wishing, what is this? And then when I started even hearing from the Father in the way that it came to me, which was writing notes that He was giving to me, then it was like, did I write that? Did I make this stuff up? Is it real? And I would sit on it. He started giving me tidbits of stuff that I could uh, be able to look to later. And
Yeah, that's the whole point of the notes, by the way. It's not that, everyone writes notes. It's just that there has to be a testimony.
right.
So those notes become the testimony of the word from the Father. That's why we write it.
There's even been times at one point I said, because I was starting to hear His voice so clear at a point, I said, well, I don't need to write this down. And He said, write it down.
Yep.
And it's because you need to be able, you write your date and everything. You need to be able to go back to them, even if you think you might remember. What if you don't? So it needs to be there in that way. So anyway, if you have been in this process, you think you're hearing from Yah, and you're like, I don't know, am I a false prophet or something like this? All those thoughts have come to our minds. We can totally understand it, and we're here for you. And that's what our purpose is, to help you understand how to hear the Father's voice, how to heed heed the call, and do what you're supposed to do, and to help alleviate some of your fear, because He wants His people here. No, He wants His people here. He wants you here, and He wants you to be here in time for whatever your role is. He has jobs for us, and when you get in position, He will give you your assignment. And literally, He will hand you a assignment, and you got to train and prepare for whatever your assignment is. So this is all very real. Understand it, believe it, and know that you are not alone, and you are loved by the Father. That is my end. And if you have anything additional to say, we will see you in the next video.
No, shalom, my brothers and sisters. I had a word from that, but I couldn't find it. I'll share it some other point. I'm just gonna say it like this. You may have been successful or you've done some nice things in your life, but you know there's more. You know you're being called. Please hearken. Please hearken to the voice. Do not worry about your circumstance. Yahuwah will literally rise you above your circumstance, put you where you need to be. You are not alone, and uh, may the Father and His will and His ruach be on you as you discern and sift through your journey. All right, shalom.